Hello, everyone. So excited to have Jamie with us today. And we are talking in March about a really important conversation for women leaders, and that is gender barriers. It's something that so many women in leadership have faced. And Jamie, would love if you'd be willing to hear a little bit about your perspective of maybe a time you faced that and how it shaped your perspective as a leader today.
Yeah. First, happy to be here. Thank you for inviting me. It's an incredibly important topic. The first story that really comes to mind for me when I think about when I reflected on it was clearly a gender bias that was impacting me in the workplace. Was I was just out of college. I was working in IT. Little known fact, I was in IT right after I graduated college, and I was in a very male dominated firm. And I remember specifically there was something I had to do from a technology perspective. I didn't have the access I needed to do it. And there was this really arrogant person I was working with. And he said, "Oh, you need road access," which is all powerful access. He's like, "You need road access to do that." He's like, "I can do it for you." I'm like, "Well, when am I going to get road access?" I asked naively. And his response was, "Probably never." And I still I can feel how I was physically angry at the time, and the way I handled it, that I years later, I reflected on this. I'm so proud of how I handled it. Um, I started to talk with the network administrator who was responsible for setting access. I got him to start training me on all the things I needed to do to have that sort of access. I ultimately ended up taking his job when he left, and the very first thing I did when I got his job was remove root access from the guy who told me I'd never have it. And it was just like this wonderful, vindicating moment of I worked really hard and I got it, and then, shame on him. And, and I reflect on it years later, I'm like, A, awesome. I'm so proud that I did that. And I shouldn't have had to work so hard to have the same level of access that that person had who was sitting next to me. And it was super, super frustrating, but at least there was a clear action I could take. And I'm really proud that I was able to take it. But then sort of conversely, I was thinking, there's obviously times where, you can't have a clear action or you try and you just can't seem to make uh, a dent in some of it's just cultural or whatever. And, in another job in a very sort of similar way, I was, but I was more recognizing of the sexism that was happening. I distinctly remember being told, and I was still just, like, dumbfounded that this was said to my face, that my male counterpart, um, I was talking about marketing and the effectiveness of it and the things that we were doing and some of the metrics and some of the challenges I was having to someone, and he said to me, "Well, you have to understand that your ex counterpart has more credibility than you, so maybe if you got him to say these things in a meeting, you'd make a little more progress." I had no words for that. And that's where I feel like you just sort of need to understand, can you make a change in the culture, and can you do something to fight against that, or is it a moment where you have to reflect and decide, I don't think that this is the place for me and I can't make a change here. And I think that the second choice is so much harder to realize that you probably can't make a change.
And I think one of the things that I keyed in on both of the kind of examples you talked about was that the root of it for you and some of the things you shared was really your own competence being questioned, whatever that looked like. And sometimes that's something that we have to remind ourselves that it is frustrating that we have to work sometimes harder or more intentionally to have the same level of access or the same level of respect or understanding. So, if you're watching this and feeling something similar, know that you are not alone and hope that these webinars are encouraging and help you to remember that we can manage all of these things together. We just have to keep working at it. And it takes time and culture change. And sometimes you plant a little bit of seed and it's got to move on to the next person. And sometimes you can be the person that makes that shift and that impact. So thank you, Jamie, so much for being willing to share your story. And everybody, I hope you have a great rest of the day and enjoy watching the rest of the videos on this playlist. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.